Hello, loud teachers. Today I'm going to talk about my fabulous product for the even more fabulous novel, Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I'm going to talk through today what's included in this product for those who are interested in purchasing and give some tips and hints for those who have already purchased this product and want more information on how to use it. I first read Cinder in 2018 when it was a Virginia Reader's Choice book, and I've recommended it to hundreds of students and led dozens through this book club that I'm about to show you. I love this book for so many reasons. Very few books take this balance between all of these different interests, especially in children's and YA. First, it's a book that makes you think deeply about philosophical questions. It's got deep romance, though not going too far. It's an evil plague that is gruesomely killing people. It's a book in a series, so kids who like it can continue on. It has cyborgs and androids and robots, an epic battle between Earth and the Moon, an evil queen who wants to take over the entire universe. It is awesome. Seriously, what else do you want in a YA novel? This book club, as all of the book clubs in my Dystopian Future series, are divided into 10 missions or 10 units. With each mission, there are vocabulary questions where students practice inferring meaning from context clues, as well as visualizing an event from the text. This is then followed by comprehension questions. Some of these questions are based on more of the type of questions that you might find in a standardized test, but for the most part, they are questions that allow students to reflect and think deeply on what they have just read. Really, this is to prepare them to have a group conversation, and that's usually how I run my book clubs, is that I have students read independently, I have them fill out these forms independently, and then I have them come together to discuss the open-ended questions that you see on the bottom of each mission sheet. The more I taught and the more I study, as of recording this, I'm a doctoral student at Seattle University, the more I see the importance of differentiating absolutely everything. Before, I used to think of book clubs as these like separate entities where, the students who were further along in their reading would read a harder book and students who needed that differentiation would read an easier book. And for the most part, that's still my best practice. However, once you separate people into book clubs, there's still a lot of variance. And there's also the probability that you're doing this as a larger group read, or maybe that you're doing this as a whole class read, or you need to do this from a distance because there's an international pandemic and you have to make it work. And so I really want, as I go back and look at all my products, as I update them, I want you, the teacher, to be able to open up each one and teach every single student that arrives in your classroom exactly as they are. And so this is an example of the easier version. So this is for students who have lower special education needs or lower ESOL needs. So these are students who are like WIDA levels 3 to 5, students who have an IEP but not a severe disability. And so you'll see for these students, there is multiple choice questions in the vocabulary section. So they're still using those inferring skills. They're still using context clues. They're still using visualization, but there's a little bit more support. As you go into the questions are not super simpler. The main difference is that some of them are in multiple choice form, and that's to give them that practice with standardized testing, so we're not taking away from that. It's also to make sure that you have this quick way to check in for understanding, and students in this section also have sentence stems, which is proven to really help students, especially those with special education and ESOL needs. A lot of times we forget about gifted and talented students when we're differentiating, and that's something I don't want to leave out either. So that's why you'll find in the gifted and talented version of this product a whole other section for these students. When you open this product, no student should be bored. I mean, it's an amazing book, so I think almost all students who can read it like this book, regardless of their reading level. However, this is really to give them an extra sense of challenge when actually completing the work that goes with this novel. So you'll notice that there's an extra vocabulary word for each of these pages. There are also more open-ended higher Bloom's taxonomy thinking in this section, as well as higher vocabulary words in the comprehension section. There's also a final writing, usually creative or in someone's perspective, at the end of each gifted and talented mission. Because this works particularly well with gifted and talented students, I've included in the gifted and talented folder this awesome open-ended dystopian future project. I love doing this project. I can leave students alone for hours with the sub, and they will be totally into this while also totally reading, totally writing, being creative, thinking about problems, researching. I love it. Some of the greatest work that has happened in my classroom as a teacher has happened during this project. There have been a few cases in which students created dystopian futures that got a little out of control. So it's really important that if you choose to go this route with your students, you're providing regular check-ins, you're helping them kind of look through, and in some cases where this is necessary, helping them check their own biases and helping them get extra information. Again, this is why it's in the gifted and talented folder, but it can be used for a wide swath of students. Each and every level from easier to gifted and talented is available in ready to print dyslexic font. Each and every level from easier to gifted and talented is also in visually impaired font. And I want to throw that out to my very special gifted and talented visually impaired brother who inspired this version of the product. Finally, for students who have severe ESOL or severe special education needs, there is this picture book version of Cinder. And now you might be like, why? Why should I bother giving this very challenging book to students who are just learning English or who have really severe needs? Here's why. These students have never been included in a book club, usually. And when I give them a book club, particularly of a book that the rest of the class is reading, it is so powerful. I have had tears. That is how powerful it is. And so I want to put this into all of my reading book club products because for the number of students that read this, I know it's making an impact. So for students who are nonverbal and cannot really engage that much, maybe it's just a matter of practicing their letters when they copy over the open text. For students who are a little bit higher, maybe this is a more mature book that they can finally read. That's not something that preschoolers are reading. So it's fitting their reading needs, but not quite, but also hitting their emotional maturity levels. They're not reading, one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish for the 100th time. Then there's also students who, in both of these groups, finally get to go talk about these bigger book issues with their friends on the playground. And when the real conversations about a book happen outside of my classroom, that's how I know I've won as a teacher. And this is just one of those ways to facilitate all of that awesomeness in your classroom. At a bare minimum, all students should be able to color over the words, color over some of the figures, and have some basic vocabulary. There's also an easiest plus and an easier minus focus cards that can help you with students who are a little bit more capable in this level, kind of focus in and answer these questions. There's also other helpful tips on how to differentiate this project even more in the actual product folder. Finally, at the end of your book club, you will see an answer key with answers for the easier, the standard, and the gifted and talented version so that you can hand it to whatever teacher who's helping you. You can use it in small groups. You can use it as a whole group if your whole class is using the gifted and talented version or the easier version or the standard version. There are also in the answer key rubrics for each and every mission adjusted to each and every level. You'll notice that the total points are the same across every mission and every level to make your gradebook a lot easier. Thank you so much for listening. I know this is a long video, but I know that when you're a teacher, because believe me, I've been there, I'm still there, every penny counts, and I want you to feel supported when you purchase this product, and I want you to feel supported for all of the learners in your classroom. Thank you so much for being awesome, and thank you so much for listening. Pura vida, adios.